morning students. I am Dr. A. Josephine Stella, Assistant Professor of Commerce, Computer Applications in SFR College for Women, Sivahasi. Today we are going to discuss about the topic dialog boxes in Visual Basic. Before that, we know the learning objectives of dialog boxes. Number 1, to know the concept of dialog boxes in Visual Basic, to understand the message box and input box function in Visual Basic, and to develop a program using the message box and input box function in Visual Basic applications. Dialog boxes meaning dialog box is a temporary window for an application that accept user response through mouse or keyboard to create communication and interaction between the user and the application. Dialog boxes are specialized forms that serve two basic purposes. Their primary use is to provide information to the users. Some dialog boxes are more sophisticated and interact with the user, accepting user input and possibly providing feedback. For example, opening a file, changing printer properties, some notifications and alert messages. It is an important tool for Visual Basic programming. Next, types of dialog boxes. There are two fundamental types of dialog boxes. Number 1 is modal and second one is modeless. In modal dialog box, it requires user to complete and close before continuing with the main window. For example, save dialog box. In modeless dialog box, it allows users to switch between the dialog box and the main window as users desired. For example, find dialog box. Using the message box function, this is a simple dialog box that display a message and accept a feedback from the users only through the form of closing the dialog box. In this place, no text can be entered by the user. The user has no choice but to press the OK button to close this dialog box. Here is the example to close this dialog box. Other dialog boxes present user with more than one choice to close the dialog box. The user is presented with 3 choices for closing the dialog box. The choice effect of the applications. Here is the example with the 3 choices for closing the dialog box like save, don't save and cancel button. Displaying information using the message box function. Syntax, message box of prompt, buttons, title, help file, context. Prompt is the only and important argument which is required for the message box function. It is a string value that is displayed in the message area of the dialog box. Buttons and title bar customize the appearance of the dialog box. An application can interact with the user by changing the optional buttons parameter of the message box function. The button parameter is a numeric expression that determines the following 4 items: number and type of buttons, icon displayed, default button and modality. Here, the following table is clearly explained the commonly used values for the button parameter of the message box function like button, icons, default button and modality. If user want to click the OK button, it displays OK button only. So, the user set the value 0. If the user want to display warning query icon, user set the value 32. Message box function returns values. So, the message box function return a value. If the user need to use the return value, store it in a variable first with a data type of VB message box result. The below table shows that the return values for the message box function. For example, user click the ignore button, it returns the value of number 5. Using the input box function, the message box function creates dialog boxes that convey information to the users and can even interact with the users. To give the user ability to supply any value they wish, use the input box function. Here is the syntax for input box function. Input box of prompt, title, default, expose, ypos, help file, context. Arguments, here is the prompt, x position, y position are the arguments. So number 1, prompt is the only argument that is required for the input box function. It is a string value that is displayed in the message area of the dialog box. Button and title bar customize the appearance of the dialog box, and x and y position for the location of the dialog box on the screen is supplied using the x position and y position arguments, which accept the distance of the edge of the dialog box from the left and the top of the screen respectively. If user leaving out x position, it appears center of the dialog box horizontally. If user leaving out y position, it places the dialog box about 1/3 of the way from the top of the screen. The input box returns a string value if the user clicks the OK button or presses the enter key. The string contained in the text box is returned. But if the user click the cancel button or presses the escape key, an empty string is returned regardless of what the text box contains. Here is the example for input box function. From this video lesson, we have learned input box function and message box function in Visual Basic. Thank you.